And Xi Jinping are set to speak. What's on the table? TikTok US China trade and potentially the future of millions of users. Stay with me as we break it down. First, I want you to look at this video what Donald Trump said about his conversation with Xi Jinping. As you understood clearly, Donald Trump spoke regarding TikTok and he accepted like he loves TikTok, and generally he said TikTok is a massive reason behind his victory in 2024 presidential election, and he said very clearly like that's the main reason that I got victory in the election, and that's how I came in power. Now the main concern is whether the TikTok is going to be regulating in the US or Trump is going to put ban on this. Trump also spoken about Charlie Kirk, who was shot dead few days ago, suspected Tyler Robinson, who is only 22 years old, later found guilty of killing Donald Trump. Now, you can say like today we are looking at the major upcoming phone call between US President Donald Trump and China's President Xi Jinping. Why does it matter? Because it could decide the fate of TikTok in America and shake things up in the world's biggest trade relationship. So number one, I want to say what's going on. For that, you have to listen to this audio very carefully. So the first one is the two leaders are expected to hold a phone call to discuss a deal that would allow the social media app TikTok, which is owned by a Chinese company, to continue operating in the US. They will also address broader trade tension between the United States and China, which they have been rising over tariffs, regulatory dispute, supply chain, and intellectual property concern. Second question should be why TikTok is central. TikTok has been under security in the US for years, with concerns about data privacy, national security, and how the Chinese government might access user data. A deal with China could involve things like data localization, oversight over adults, structural changes in ownership or oversight. Last year, I also made a video on TikTok that how TikTok ban is impacting the US citizens and especially US teenagers, how much they are affecting by this. I have already made a video on this. Generally, Donald Trump had put a proposal on the table where he spoke clearly about the ownership of Chinese owned company TikTok. Donald Trump said like if you want TikTok to be continuing in the US, then you should allow the access of TikTok in the hands of someone who is American. That means the owner will be American, and China did not agree with the fact. So is China literally stealing the data through TikTok? What is your thinking on this? Please write it in the comment section. Third question is trade tension, the bigger picture. US-China trade is not just about the tariffs, it's about supply chains, tech competition, and semiconductors, intellectual property, foreign investments, and geopolitical influence. And deal on TikTok might be a signal of how far both sides are willing to compromise. It could be a first step toward easing tensions, or it could lead to more pressure depending on what each side demands. Number 4 is like possible outcomes and implications. If a deal is reached, TikTok could remain operational without being banned. It might have to adopt stricter oversight, could pave way for more cooperation on other tech issues. If the talk fail or there will be no agreement, then TikTok faces rise of ban or forced divestiture. US-China relations remain inflamed, more retaliatory trade actions possible, broader tech decoupling, meaning each country pushing to develop its own independent tech infrastructure, implications for users and business. That means millions of TikTok creators and users in the US could see disruption. Businesses relying on cross-border trade could face increased costs or uncertainty. Global tech companies will be watching closely to see which regulatory models emerge. Number 5, like what to watch or to expect next. Actually, how the deal structure is designed, ownership, data access, oversight. What conditions China and the US might each insist upon, whether Congress or regulators in the US approve the deal. Possible timeline for implementation if they agree, how fast it moves. In short, this phone call is not just a diplomatic formality. It could be one of those moments where technology, politics, and global trade collide. With real consequences for people, apps, and economics. I will be keeping an eye on the outcomes because whatever happens will likely ripple far beyond just TikTok. If you like this breakdown, please hit like and subscribe and ring the bell icon so you don't miss updates. What do you think? Will TikTok survive in the US under a deal, or are they heading for a showdown? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching.